Hi everybody, my name's Jake Johnston. This is Jake Showcase. I do videos on Wednesdays. Today I'm going to tell you the story about the undefeated wrestling champion, almost. You might be surprised, but that was actually me. You see, in high school, we were a real sort of sports school. Our high school was really good in all the sports, particularly in football. We'd almost always win football. It was really like, not just good in football, it was usually good in just about every single sport. And me being so small, I couldn't play any of them. Not being able to play sports really stunk for me because I really like sports, and unfortunately because of my height and weight being so small, I had no chance whatsoever. I have to remember how small I was. I was about 4'8" or 4'9" in around grade 10, and I weighed about 67 pounds. And in our high school, we had one sort of famous coach. He was like the coach of just about everything. He was a big, huge Italian man who sort of dominated coaching at our school. The fellow was a legend, really. Football, basketball, he was the go-to for just about every sort of sport. It was him, you know. He sort of made sure the teams won. One day in around grade 10, I was walking around, putzing around with sort of my head down as usual, just trying to avoid not getting shoved into a locker. One day, I'm walking down the halls, and the big, huge coach comes right in front of me. Kind of scared me. He said, "Jake, I want you to be on my team." I was like, what? What? I was totally confused. Sure, I wanted to play. I thought maybe running back. I always wanted to be quarterback. That's what I always wanted to be. But he's like, "I want you to be on my wrestling team." Like, wrestling? What's wrestling? I didn't even know there was a sport called wrestling. Me, I don't think I'd ever been in a fight in my whole life. And, so I knew nothing about contact sports. Me, I didn't really understand wrestling at all, and I couldn't imagine why he would want me on his team. He gave me a big smile and told me to come down to the gym. So I showed up at the gym when he asked me to, and all 4'8" and 67 pounds of me, and I looked up at all these guys who were all running around wrestling each other. I didn't realize it was a real sport. And so I'm sitting in there and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. They would all be wearing sort of bathing suits or something like that. I quickly realized that the reason he wanted me there was because wrestling is done in a weight division. And basically, my weight at 67 pounds was very low. In fact, that coach was smiling when I came through that gym right at me, waved me over. I would go to wrestling practice, but basically I didn't have to wrestle anybody in practice because nobody was even close to my height or weight. The closest person to my weight was at least 30 or 35 pounds heavier than me and at least a foot taller. And the closest person to me in height was somebody who was double my weight. I actually had to practice with one of those each time, but that was it. Well, I went to the practice and I would watch them learn all their techniques and run around the gym and do all the things that you have to do. You know, they're actually very, very good athletes, and our team was very good. It was one of the better teams. And the coach, he treated me like gold. Me and him would stand together and eat coffee and donuts, watching these guys all run around. He'd have me come to his office. He'd drive me around. He was very, very friendly to me. I was kind of like the ring on his finger for the championship. In fact, when we went on school bus rides, I would sit beside him. Everybody else would sit in the back. He really had a liking for me. Most guys have to cut weight before you go into wrestling competitions, but me, I was trying to put on weight the whole time, and I couldn't put on the weight. And it was true. Match after match, as we go and play against all schools, all I had to do was go and stand on the scale, and then we get a win, because nobody was my weight. So week after week, I would win for one victory for me and one victory for the school, and it really helped our record. Basically, the school wrestling team liked me, and the reason for it was because, I would help them win. I would watch some of their techniques and stuff like that, but it really I never really understood it at all. There was this one time we ended up going to a public school. We were in a Catholic school, and there was somebody who matched my weight, but it was a girl. And man, she looked like she really knew what she was doing. So they had lined up a match, and she was in there, and she was stretching and doing all these moves and cartwheels and getting warm, getting ready to fight against me. And you have to remember, in grade 10, I was having a lot of problems with girls, and I'm seeing this girl, and all these guys are watching, and they're like, oh, he's finally got a match. It's like, my God, do I have to wrestle a girl? I'm scared. You see, there was two problems. One problem is that if she beat me, I was going to get made of fun terribly. The other problem was if I beat her, I was going to feel terrible. I had no idea how to wrestle at all, let alone how to wrestle women. But there she was stretching. She looked like she really was practiced and knew what she was doing. Quite honestly, I thought she was gonna beat me. I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. I was just pacing back and forth, and I'd go into the locker room and stuff like that. Well, the referee blew his whistle and told us to come into the center of the circle. But then, right then, something happened. And the coach walked over to the referee and started talking. And just as I was going to go for my match, the coach came over to me, and so did the referee, and they said, you know what, this match has been canceled. I was like, canceled? Canceled? In front of all these people? Oh, really? Actually, inside I was delighted. And they told me that the reason that the match was canceled is because we were in a Catholic school. A guy could not wrestle a girl in a wrestling match. I couldn't tell you how much I was relieved, because this lady looked like she really knew what she was doing. She was tough, strong, flexible, and she was practicing with other people. So I got out of that one, and we proceeded to go to more schools, and I proceeded to win more. In fact, I ended up winning every single place in the whole city, and I went with a perfect record. Now, after the perfect record, we ended up going to a higher division, which is like the more like for the area. And after the area comes like the province or the state. Basically, the highest one you can get was the provincial championships. So because nobody was my weight, I kept winning and winning and advancing up the line. I got all the way to the championship, and I was like, wow, this is easy. Anyway, so I got all the way up to this championship match, and they finally found somebody who could wrestle against me. He was this guy who was from the far, far north. I believe he came from like a forest. He was Native American. He was from a tribe of some sort. And they had found him way, way up in the northern bush, I believe. This guy was the true deal. He was like a wiry little guy. He looked wild with his eyes, and he looked, oh my God. I have to remember, I had never, I didn't know how to wrestle at all. I've never done it. Guy looked like he had been wrestling bears and all these things for a long period of time, this wild-eyed, wiry little guy. Get up to the big provincial championship, and they bring me into the center of the circle. I'm looking across at this guy who looked wild and wily and with the long hair, and I was just, whoa, look out for this guy. I'm thinking to myself, trying to remember all the moves that these guys do, trying to remember what you're supposed to do, and I kind of lost all my memories of how to wrestle. Lots of people there. It was at this big gym, huge gym, lots of people watching me on this wooden floor in the center. Of course, there was my smiling coach at me who said, okay, now try to remember your techniques, try to remember your techniques. Of course, I didn't remember any of them. But I had forgotten all the techniques, and it was just about the match time. So I tried to like loosen up, trying to think, okay, I gotta get amped up here. I gotta try to wrestle this guy. I did want to wrestle. I thought, you know what, I kind of want to win. You know, this is a competition here. Maybe I can win this. You know, if I could have taken a pass on the whole thing, quite honestly, I would have. The coach told me I had to go for this one, and he would give me the big thumbs up and the wink. The coach actually thought I was going to beat this guy, and so did I. So I go there, and I had forgotten all the techniques and stuff, and the man blows the whistle. The referee blows the whistle. My instincts is I clench my fist and I start trying to punch the guy. Within about a minute, the referee pulled me off and said, no, you can't punch. I was like, oh, you can't punch, eh? I don't even think I got to punch in, but, you know, that's what I was trying to do, and the referee told me I couldn't. Thinking, if you can't punch, what are you supposed to do here? So the second time he blew the whistle, I leap onto the guy, grab his hair, and I try to start biting him. And the referee pulled me off again and said, no, you can't do any of that. You can't be doing all these things. I thought, if you can't grab, you can't pull hair, you can't throw a punch, how do you wrestle? And I got back into my side. The third time I tried to maybe go and maybe grab him. This little guy, once he saw me try to grab, he had me in a pretzel within about 3 seconds. And about 5 seconds later, I was 1, 2, 3, and out. he knew how to wrestle. And you could see he was very well practiced at it. Me, I was defeated, but I was just glad the whole thing was over with. So, I was almost undefeated, but when I finally got my wrestling match, I was defeated. So that's what happened to me. You know, almost undefeated, but not quite. I think my record was like 20 or 25-1. Thanks for watching Jake's Showcase, everybody. Please don't forget to like my video below and subscribe to my channel up above. I do my videos on Wednesdays. I hope you have a wonderful day.